Hey, I'm Pennma. There's still some more Death Battle. Let's watch some Death Battle with Season 9, Episode 4, Thor vs. Vegeta. This is another episode that was teased at the end of last season, which is pretty much all we've gotten so far. They teased Vegeta, and here he is. And most people expect him to fight Thor, because that seemed to be a pretty popular matchup going around. They're both alien princes, though I guess you can kind of stretch what you think Thor is, but they are both very powerful princes. It's a neat one. They had a DBX for this a while back. You know, we get Marvel fights all the time. We get Dragon Ball fights almost as often, and I don't really care for Dragon Ball. However, I will say, out of all the Dragon Ball characters, there's like 4. I don't like any of them really, except for like 4, and that's like Beerus, Bulma, Gohan, and Vegeta. Those are like the ones I care about. So luckily, Vegeta's one that I do like. Thor's pretty fun. I like him. Speaking of Thor, both the analysis this time are pretty much just a list of feats. Like sometimes they go over the character's like whole history and character arc to kind of get you up to date with them. But both these characters, I think it's mostly due to like everyone should kind of know the gist of Thor. He's very popular in the movies, and he's just like he's a hero, you know. Like that's kind of his whole deal. So we mostly just get feats of strength. And also this is the 3rd time we've had Thor, back when he like completely for some reason did the biggest overkill ever on Raiden from Mortal Kombat. He was so overpowered against him, he didn't need to smash his entire lower body off and then throw him into the sun. And then he fought Wonder Woman and got stabbed in the back of the head. There's like small things that I didn't know about Thor. There's some of the things they brought up I do know, because I at least watched a video on the Gore the God Butcher storyline. So I've heard of the God Bomb and stuff like that. And also that moment that he had 2 Mjolnirs. That's cool. But like other weird things. Like I didn't know that Mjolnir has a literal storm trapped in it, or it can absorb energy. Also they just bring up like nonsense comic things that the people that write it don't think about. Like Ares, I didn't even know there was an Ares in Marvel. But I'm not surprised there is, because there is, like, you know, a Greek pantheon, but he can move at plank time. They just say things that sound fast. Yeah, it was mostly just a lot of bringing up just big things that he did. Like, he fought all these guys. He beat all these guys. He was able to fight on par with Sentry. He was able to do his God Blast, which Galactus is afraid of. He was able to push back the World Engine. One thing they didn't bring up, though, some things I heard about Thor, being his like Rune King stuff, and then also because he is now the King of Asgard, he inherited the Odin Force, which is now the Thor Force. They didn't bring either of those up, so we'll get back to that later. Right after we talk about Vegeta. Now, this is the 2nd time Vegeta's been on Death Battle, and the first time he was on was way back, I think in like episode fucking 12 or something, when he fought fucking Shadow the Hedgehog. And now since then, there has been lots of Dragon Ball content, some movies, most of Super, if not all of Super has happened. I don't know, I don't keep up with Dragon Ball. And he got a bunch of power-ups. I watched the 2 fucking movies. I don't know how he became a Super Saiyan God, but then he got Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Blue, and then he has Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Evolves, and then his new thing, Ultra Ego, which, from the looks of things, in fighting game terms, gives him super armor, because he just tanks hits. And he gets some cool purple hair. I don't know a lot to say about Vegeta. He's Vegeta. He fights a lot, he screams a lot, and then he never wins, except for against, like, Android 19, but who cares about Android 19? Hell, even the time he won against Frieza, no he didn't. They turned back time so Goku could. Now, let's move on to the fight. Before I get on to this fight, I'm going to quickly talk about the voices from last time, because I forgot a 2nd time. I will hopefully not forget a 3rd time. Tundra is voiced by Zach Mayer, and Jonathan is voiced by Benji Buckley. Both do very good jobs, though I will say, I think Benji Buckley's Jonathan did scream a little too much for Jonathan. I don't really see him as a screamy boy. Both are newcomers to Death Battle, not that I've seen before, and also nothing else I recognize. Now on to this one, but again, as always, before we start it, let's talk about the music. This one is Princes of Pride by Brandon Yates featuring Mitsui, who I looked up. He does a bunch of like anime covers. Once again, we have another one with lyrics, which, as I said before, definitely like adds to the memorability of the song. It is very heavy metal. I don't know what to compare it to, but it sounds like shit you would hear on the last Guitar Hero game. I liked it. It sounded cool. Vikings and like Norse mythology work really well for heavy metal. Maybe that's why all the metal bands are in the Nordic countries. Neum, Princess of Pride, it's fine. It definitely is like, you know, person of thing, verbing the noun. You gotta fall back on the old faithfuls. Let's talk about the voices for this episode as well, both of which are returning voices, where Vegeta here is voiced by Nick Landis, who is of Team 4-Star, and was Vegeta way back in that last episode, and also the voice of Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And they work a lot with Team 4-Star for stuff, so. And Thor, yeah, he reprises his role from Thor vs. Wonder Woman way back when, but is also at least notable for having since then been in a bunch of animes and video games, and was in an episode of Joffrey, and he's the current voice of Eden in The New Dying Light, and Legoshi in Beastars. He was also the voice of Jiraiya back in Jiraiya vs. Roshi. On to the actual fight. I'll start with the things that I think are a bit of an issue. There's a couple shots in it. I think the effects, while cool a lot of the time, sometimes get in the way of like visual clarity of things going on, and some shots are a bit iffy. The only, to be fair, I have one that I think is like the issue, is the part where they crash into like that big lake, and they have a big crater, and they're like facing off against each other. Then it pans over, and like the Thor sprite is like right in front of Vegeta. You can't even see Vegeta. By the way, this is a sprite fight, and it looks good. And then you cut to the next part where like Vegeta headbutts Thor. But I guess because Vegeta's so short, like all of the effects that they have coming up at the bottom of the screen cover up his face. That's really the only issue I kind of have. The rest of it is dope. I think most of the cool lines get said by Thor though. Like he gets these cool lines, but they're not as cool as Thor's. Like he tries to catch Mjolnir, but you know it just slams him into the ground. Thor calls him unworthy. It's good. He asks him if he feels fear. He doesn't feel fear, he only feels thunder. He's sick as fuck. You know, most of this I don't have much to say, it's just very cool and I like it. I think this pulls off a expertly done fake out, because I was actually like, going from what they said, I was kind of feeling, they say a lot of very strong things about Vegeta, how many universes he can blow up. And then that, the final flash they show is very big, and the music cuts out as well. But then Thor grabs him, you get a cool as fuck looking, like, hand-drawn, beat-up Thor. He fucking always aim for the head. Cool as hell. And then crushes his fucking skull with the hammer. Dope. They didn't do the plus and minus comparison for this episode, actually, huh? What they did have, though, when they were talking about how it goes over, was a lot of pop-ups in the corner just to bring up other shit. Like, notably, they bring up the Odin Force, Thor Force, but if they did, then he would scale to feats of Odin, which makes him even more busted. Which essentially means, like, there's a lot of people I've seen say that Vegeta was lowballed for this episode, because there's no measurable way, there's no measurements of what Ultra Ego can do. Like, there's no measurable feats. But even if they did lowball him, Thor was essentially kneecapped, because they didn't give him his biggest, strongest thing. And they have to just be like, yeah, he's very strong, but Thor's stronger and also much, much faster. And also his ability to absorb energy through his spirit fishing thing requires contact, while Thor can just ask Mjolnir to suck a man's soul out, apparently. And they also say that, like, oh, well, he can't Hakai him because he's just a resistance reissue. But if I remember correctly from Beerus vs. Galaxia, isn't it brought up that Hakai will not work on someone stronger than you? That's how Dragon Ball works. I was right. I called it right. 3-1. I mostly kind of go with the popular one, but sometimes they're right. Sometimes I don't, but it won't be for next time. Speaking of next time, we have a fairly interesting episode. This is the first one that has not been teased by the Season 7 teasers at the end. Omni-Man vs. Homelander. The Boys vs. Invincible. Two shows from Amazon Prime that have evil Superman. For both of these things, I have watched one season of their thing, because Invincible only has one season, and I only watched one season of The Boys, and I didn't really care for it that much. And technically this is the second time Homelander would be on Death Battle, because they did that 7 Battle Royale, which was just a very elaborate ad. Yeah, this is 2 instances of what if Superman was an asshole from 2 different series that both got adapted by Amazon Prime? Personally, yeah, don't really care for The Boys. I'm kind of sick of, I feel like the age of being, cynical about superheroes is done. Kind of tired of it. Compared to Invincible, which is not really that cynical, but it's at least a lot more earnest about it being a story about superheroes. It just so happens to have evil Superman in it. But this one has a mustache and is also voiced by J.K. Simmons. Probably not this one though. But yeah, given what I did see of both of them, Omni-Man is pretty much invincible. In the TV show, the only time we see him kind of beat up is after he, beats up the Guardians of the Globe. But I did read the first bits of the comic that were adapted in the TV show, and he did not get beat up there. That was over at 1 pH. Actually, not even a pH turn. Whereas Homelander, I don't know how invincible Homelander is, but I think he is a loser. I think he's Liam. He's a stupid corporate stooge. Whereas Omni-Man is a space supremacist, but he does have that cool mustache. But yeah, I'm giving it to Omni-Man, which I feel like everyone is. Hell, even the official Twitter accounts for both Invincible and The Boys. The Boys won't even support their own guy, so this might be the biggest stomp of the season. But you never know. Now do we? I guess we'll find out next time. And until then, I'll see you. Bye.